right, welcome to Two Guys, One Take. I'm Noah, and that is Turner. And Turner has some exciting news for us. Turner, what's the news?
Yes, sir. Starting weeks before opening day of the NFL season, we're gonna have about 15 people on, and those people are gonna give us their takes on the season, whether it be a prop bet, their team's winning games, um, anything. They're gonna give us their best take, and then we're gonna have them on, have them talk about their team, have them talk about their take, and then based on how good their take is, we're going to give them something if it comes true. That could be not season tickets, but tickets to a game, to a jersey, to some memorabilia. Who knows? You might even get me and Noah to come out celebrate with you.
Come to a game with you, anything. It could be anything, but it has to be, we're talking about a hot take. It's got to be,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can't, don't, if you're a Ravens fan, don't come on here and say, I think Lamar is going to be good. He's going to be really good this year. No, I need something. I need a deep poll that could happen. Something that would be fun if it did happen. It's got to be about your team.
Yes.
We need you to be a fan of that team. So we're gonna have a this contest, but we're gonna have a Google form for it. Is that right, Turner?
Yeah. So in this video, in the description, there's going to be a video. Basically, put your team, put the take, and yeah, I think that's going to be it. If there's anything else on there surprising, I mean, fill it out. Look at it. We'll invite you to be on. It's going to most likely be in uh, a weekend episode because weekday episodes we kind of try to keep those a little bit shorter. But
Yep.
if you got a take, come up with it, give it to us, send it to us. We'll have you on. Make sure you're good at talking. If you suck at talking, and we're not going to have you on.
We might have to have them pre-record their take maybe so that they can be good at talking.
That'd be cool. Maybe we could like phone in like in the old days, like coming from North Carolina.
Exactly. Yeah. Long time caller
Billy
or long
Bob.
time listener, first time caller.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I wanted to
Um,
start that off so people that listen to the episode for 5 seconds can have a little fun.
yeah.
If they want to come on, if they want to try to win something, if you love your team, like I hope you do listening to this episode, then you will give us a take.
And if you're a Browns fan, maybe your take is going to be that even though Shador slid all the way to the fifth round, and that's where you ended up drafting him after Dylan Gabriel, maybe your take is that you think Shador is going to win the starting job
Hmm.
and he's going to
I don't know
ball
what I'd
out.
give for that. I don't know what I'd give for that because that could be. And we do have a little bit of a ways till we will start doing that, but I just want to get a couple submissions, see what we got going on.
Get
Um,
some good ones.
yeah, and then me and Noah will come up with whatever we think we should give you.
Yep. Like I
Yeah,
said, it's going to be based on how hot of a take it is. And then if it does come true, that's going to be how you win. And it could be something really cool. So
yeah,
it could be anything. Mystery box could be anything.
yeah.
With that
But
said, what are your thoughts on the Shador slide?
well, I'm hoping someone is at Mel Kiper's house, keeping watch on him. Like
Wellness check to Mel's house now.
yes, wellness check, making sure he's getting all of his food, no harmful things around him. I mean,
Yes.
on what was it after the draft? Was it on NFL Network or was it ESPN? He was literally about to cry, saying that
Yes.
the 32 NFL teams don't know football like they do, like some analysts do, and I know like 75% of those analysts probably didn't touch a football throughout their whole life. So that is also an interesting take that Mel Kiper had. I think he just had a little kind of blow up on everyone, all the 32 teams, and they kind of laughed in his face, which is hilarious.
This draft like broke him. I know he's been doing this since before like we were born. Like he's literally been doing it forever. But this might have been the one that broke him. I think he was having trouble separating what he watched on tape, Shador on the field playing football, and what NFL teams were saying was turning them off about him, which is he apparently wasn't very good in his interviews at the combine. I didn't think he did a very good job conducting himself in front of the media at the combine. I thought he just wasn't doing a very good job of sounding like well thought out and like he wanted to be there. Whereas like not to sound dramatic, but like a lot of the players that are there come from a very different background, and they're kind of like this is the biggest moment of their whole life is being at the combine, giving answers to the media. They've been preparing for it all off season. They do not want to like mess it up in any way. And the feedback that the insiders, throughout the NFL were saying they had received from, teams that interviewed him is that he just didn't seem like he cared that much about what the teams interviewing him thought about him. And I don't necessarily know if that's Shador doing that on purpose or if he can come off as a little bit arrogant. Or sometimes, honestly, I'm hearing him talk. Sometimes I think he just isn't thinking that hard about what he's saying, and just comes off that way. But I think Mel was just having a tough time like distinguishing that from the play on the field because every time he would start to freak out and yell at everybody, he was talking about play on the field and like him as a leader and these things. But it's like he's not a fifth round quarterback by the way he played on the field, but maybe he is because of being a big headache and not coming in and taking it serious. I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's weird because this is a weird situation that we've had. As far as like, we've had a lot of obviously father son combos coming to the NFL, but I don't think we've had one that's necessarily like how Dion was so hands on with Shador, like obviously at Jackson State and now at Colorado. And then obviously going into the draft, like a lot of people thought that should wherever Shador was going to go, that's where Dion was going to follow. So I think that was a weird like package deal with them. And then I don't know if Shador had a PR like agent because it seems like that's what a lot of top picks in the NFL draft like they always have a PR person just for like this instances. And I really hope that Shador didn't just go to his dad or go to anyone else in his family to think about what he had to say. And it's like, yeah, you can talk your shit, but you need because me personally, I don't think he did that well at Colorado. Like he didn't have a whole lot of people, a whole lot of teammates that kind of had his back and were at that same caliber that he was or could be playing at, besides Travis Hunter. So, yeah, I think being in that situation just made him drop lower and lower and lower, especially with not performing well on the field and then also off the field being kind of like arrogant and cocky and saying that like I'm going to change everyone's franchise going into it. So I think that played a lot into him falling, and I think everyone kind of just played into the media, like Mel Kiper, like everyone just listening to him, and Mel Kiper's just like sucking his dick essentially throughout like the whole months of the off season, but leading up to the draft. I think everyone kind of just took that in a little too seriously and expected more out of the 32 NFL teams in the draft, especially the Steelers. And I'm fine with how the Steelers drafted. I don't think they could should have took a chance on Shador. The way that I thought about it is Shador is either going to be an F or an A. There's no really in between. And I was happier with them taking Derek Harmon as a solid B or A. Like he can't be anything lower than that. I'd rather them take a solid for sure pick instead of like a maybe, like we did with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I do agree with you that I think Shador is either going to be home run or complete train wreck because I think if it goes bad, it's going to go really bad just because of the expectations. And I think I disagree about his play on the field at Colorado. I thought he did a pretty good job at Colorado with considering the offensive line he had around him and the expectations coming in. I thought he had really good receivers and that he made the most of that. And a lot of his, to try and combat the offensive line issues, they had a lot of behind the line of scrimmage stuff. And I thought he did a really good job executing the offense, but I don't think he's like a game breaking quarterback or anything like that. Like he needs to be in a system. I think I talked about it in one of our first episodes. He needs to be with like Kevin Stefanski with the Browns, which is where he ends up. So I think that's perfect. Or like Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins and be in a situation like he puts Tua in a situation where it's like you're quick at making your reads, you're smart at that. We're gonna have quick reads, quick plays. We're not going to expose, your arm not being the best. So he needs a situation like that where he can't be exposed for some of his flaws because he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not very mobile, but he is a really, really quick processor and he is really accurate, like elite ball placement on the field play. I still think he was the second best quarterback in the class just based on his on the field play and his tape. But I think it's really stressful for teams to bring something like that in, especially if you're bringing him in with the idea of him sitting and being a backup, like for the first couple of years, because now that's a media story. And he's a better quarterback than Tim Tebow, right? But like when Tim Tebow came into had an interview with or went an interview with the Jets to go maybe become a tight end, like every media outlet possible, and I know it's New York, was at that press conference to hear him talk about being a tight end, and they had to cut him because it was a circus. Like the third string tight end who's making like league minimum is getting more, coverage than the rest of the team. I think teams see this as a possibility of being like questions about Shador, and maybe he's your third string quarterback, like he's going to be lucky to make the team with the Browns in this situation. I think a lot of teams, once he started sliding, it's like, are we really going to take this guy and have him be kind of like this sideshow at training camp when we could just take, a guy that we see as pretty close to him or even maybe has a higher ceiling at this point in the draft and take a flyer on them? I think that's why he slid so much because once he got past like round two, it was like, ugh, like I don't know, like if we're taking this guy to be a backup at this point, do we want that headache? I think that was where the disconnect between media and the teams were. Plus, Dion came out and said prior, like during the draft process, like really before it even sped up, like towards the end of the season at Colorado, and basically said he was going to do quietly, kind of what the Mannings and what Elway did, where certain teams were going to know they couldn't take him, and so there was already a limited pool of teams that could see him as a fit because of his limitations. And then he limited that pool, apparently, allegedly, even more by having certain teams be kind of not on his list of teams that could take him. So I think he miscalculated how teams view him, I think, where like, John Elway could come out and do that because he was, a top of the line college quarterback with very little flaws coming out of, college where the teams that wanted him was pretty much all 32 at that point. Whereas Shador, it was already a limited list, and then he came out and limited even more. I think that backfired in a big way.
I just think it's crazy the amount of teams that already didn't need a quarterback. Like how many teams
Yeah.
actually need a quarterback? There's maybe what, like five?
That actually
Because
needed one. Yeah, it's like the Browns, the Titans, the Giants, the
Steelers,
Steelers.
Giants,
You could maybe argue
Jets.
the Jets.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know. You could make the rest of them need like developmental backups, and they have like somebody in place that they think can be at least this year. I mean, the Colts, I guess, but they're waiting on Richardson. They already have a project, so it
Yeah.
was already a low amount of teams that needed a
hmm
quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna turn out for him. I honestly think he could have been better off just going undrafted, and then kind of negotiating a contract after that because
Yeah,
he might as well be undrafted
yeah.
as of right now, in my opinion. But
Like I said, he's going to be lucky. I mean, fifth round quarterbacks don't automatically make the team. They have to fight for a roster spot, and so
yeah,
him, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Deshaun Watson is one of the strangest QB rooms I can remember. And I think Joe Flacco is going to make the team. I think Kenny Pickett's going to make the team. He could even start. And
yeah,
then,
which is
you know,
awesome.
Gabriel is basically he's got the same limitations. He's smaller. That's his biggest limitation. But he to me is a similar evaluation as Shador, where it's like awesome processor, quick decision maker, and very accurate. And so it's like he has to just beat him out, but that's not a guarantee to me. So he could end up just being cut and then being able to choose his team. I kind of liked him sitting behind like Stafford and getting coached by like McVay for a year, but I just think McVay is smart enough to look at that and be like, Los Angeles, Shador, Dion, like I don't want to deal with that. We're trying to win a
Mhm.
Super Bowl. but maybe they quietly do that if he gets cut or something. I don't know, but very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
And yeah, we definitely will need to check on Mel because I've never seen a grown man on television, like unless he's talking about like his own son. Like I've never seen anybody get that emotional on TV.
Yeah.
And I like that Reese Davis kind of went back at him and was like, "Hey man, we can't just yell at," and that's when he started, almost crying, is like Reese
Yeah.
Davis being like, "You can't just yell at the NFL about this. They clearly have a different opinion on him than you do." I mean, I don't know. We'll see if Mel's back for next year, honestly, because that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Um,
But staying on the quarterback train, uh, the Giants kind of made a move to get Jackson Dart, and hope that doesn't bite them in the ass. But I
yeah,
think Dable's going to do a good job with him, especially everything that I've seen post draft regarding Jackson Dart. I mean, he did kind of fits the system perfectly.
yeah.
Pretty much get the ball in Malik Neighbors' hands and see what he can do. As far as developing, I think Brian Dable, like I said, I think he's going to do a really good job doing that.
Yeah, Dayball I trust with quarterbacks. I don't like that the comparison has been like, hey, he's kind of got some Josh Allen traits because Josh Allen, if in case anybody needs a reminder, is fucking huge,
Yeah.
and Jackson Dart is big, but he's not as big as Allen. They do run and like try and get physical with their running ability in a similar way, but I think Dart is going to need to be more careful because his body is much smaller. But I like Dart. I thought Dart was probably, pretty close with Shador. I still had Shador as the second best quarterback with on the field play, but I think Dart seemed to handle himself a little bit better in the process leading up. And I like the fit better for the Giants for him with Dayball, like you said, just the style of play.
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested to see because I think he needs a year to sit still, but I think it's going to be over under like week 6 before we see Dayball absolutely losing his fucking shit on the sideline at Russell Wilson, and
Yeah,
Russell
six
Wilson
special
standing there like
teams.
this, just like confused, kind of like when Sean Payton would be like, "Hey, what the fuck was that?" And he'd be like, "Well, what do you what?" Like just stare at him like that. Or with Dayball with Daniel Jones, I mean, the amount of times Daniel Jones came off the field and Dayball looked like he wanted to like actually murder him. I think
Daniel
that's
looked like he wanted to cry.
Yes, so I think Russ over under week 6 before we see like a total blow up. So I'm a little worried they might throw Dart in too early, but I am like cautiously optimistic that that goes well for the Giants because I want the Giants to figure out at quarterback, man. It's depressing. Like they're always going to have a few Monday and Sunday night games a year. I'd rather them be good.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was easier taking Jackson Dart, especially if the season doesn't go how they want it to go. Because having Shador be their guy and like there's a fucking dumpster fire, the media is going to eat that up. And especially whatever Shador has to say, I think Jackson Dart's going to do a better job handling that.
Yeah,
Because Shador might say some fucking out of pocket shit that gets everyone
because
just
he doesn't think
gets,
about it.
yeah, he doesn't think about it at all. I mean, kind of a very selfish person, but I don't know him as a person, but what I've seen, everything,
Yeah,
I think that's how it's going to work. Especially with like teammates and stuff and like staff, like you can't throw those people under the bus because that's their job. Like if Dable doesn't have uh, like some sort of shining hope with this year, like he's gone. The
yep,
GM's high key gone. Yeah.
yeah. Can you imagine if like they did draft Shador and not Dart, and the season started like they were like 0-2 to start the season, and Russ was like just okay.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I think Prime would come out and say something like I think there would be it would just be it'd be too much to deal with. Whereas I think
Yeah.
if they start the season not very good, there will be fans that are going to be begging for Jackson Dart, but I don't think he'll play into it the same way that I think it would just be such a circus if they had taken Shador there. So
Yeah.
I liked the Dart pick. You know, I and it was kind of a discount year. Like trading back into the first round like that for a quarterback usually costs you more, but they actually made a pretty good trade to get back in. So I
Yeah.
liked it.
And I don't mind the Browns doing that either. Um, 'Cause I think they're getting a lot for just pretty much something that they didn't need as like right then. Because it's gonna be a
Yeah,
weird year for quarterbacks anyway. So like bringing Jackson Dart into that would have been weird for them because they don't have anyone to develop him. I mean, Joe Flacco could probably do a good job developing him, but Joe Flacco still has some shit to leave out on the field, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like, he
Joe's
hasn't
trying to
had.
play.
Joe is trying to fucking play, and he doesn't have, like, he's got a motor, and that's motor still fucking running.
Yes.
So, like, telling him to develop a quarterback, I think would piss him off more than it would piss off like Aaron Rodgers. Because
Yeah.
Rodgers always comes out and says like, "Oh, I'll develop them. Like, I understand that that's my job." But I feel like Joe Flacco's like, "I'm trying to play football, and then I'm trying to fucking lead. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
babysit. I don't want to do any of that." But we'll still see with Kenny and Shador. It's gonna be weird, but I think Flacco's gonna. He might blow up on him a couple times.
It's a weird room. I think like I trust Stefanski. I think he's been given like a really rough job with the Browns. They have terrible ownership, and like the Browns find ways to like shoot themselves in the foot. Like Stefanski to me is a really good coach, especially offensively. I think like if Shador can make the team and just allow himself to be coached up and just be quiet and allow himself to be coached up by Stefanski, I think he could end up being developed, whether it's for the Browns or he gets traded somewhere else or he goes somewhere else. I like him in that system with Stefanski, so I kind of hope it works out there. But in terms of veteran leadership, like you said, I don't think Flacco is going to be that guy for him. And like the other vet in the room, air quotes, is Deshaun Watson. So like
I don't even
nobody
put
needs to
him
be
in that
learning
room.
anything from him about anything. Um, and then Pickett like is still trying to figure out if he can start in this league. So he's not. And then Gabriel is going to be a rookie with him. So it's definitely a weird room, tough situation for him to go into.
Yeah.
Whereas Dart, like you said, can sit behind Russ, and then Jameis. Jameis is a guy that you definitely want to learn from, of course, in
100%.
terms of being likable at least, and being like a guy in the room that people can trust and go to. Because that was kind of the story with Dart out of Ole Miss. Even like guys in the defense would say he was like a really good leader, and that sometimes quarterbacks can just stay with their offensive guys, but that he would like hang out with the defensive linemen, like go eat lunch with different people, like try and meet everybody. So I hope it works out for Dart for sure. I hope it works out for all these guys, but I liked the Giants pick for
Yeah.
sure.
I agree. I agree. I agree. And then what'd you think about the New Orleans pick? Taking I don't know how to say his last name. Tyler
Tyler
Show.
Shuck, Tyler
Shuck.
Shuck. Yeah, I mean that was one that broke Mel's brain early that they would take Shuck before Shadur. I get it because I think if you listen to anybody other than like ESPN in the lead up to the draft, the Saints were being pretty adamant that they were not a Shador destination. I don't know if that's because Shador behind closed doors in Prime had said they didn't want to go to New Orleans. Nobody has reported that, but that's just it was weird that they were so adamant that they weren't a Shador team, like to any media members that would, kind of put it out there. I think they liked Shuck better. I've seen, Shuck to me could go one of two ways, kind of similar to Shador. I think it's either going to be like a pretty awesome pick where everybody looks back and they're like, how did he drop? Or it's just going to be one of those things where he can't stay healthy, doesn't develop. Because that's the thing with him. I mean, he's 20, he's going to be 26 by the time it's week one. And his college career, he only ended up, he should have started multiple years, but he only ended up actually finishing the season, I think, this last year with Louisville. Um, he was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. Like Herbert's
Yeah.
been in the league for a while now, so it's just I
Didn't
like
he like
Shuck. I
break
think
his
he's
leg twice?
he's had multiple leg injuries, and then he had like a collarbone injury, and he's had season-ending injuries every season except for last season. And last season, if you watch him play, you can see why. Like it's not like they're like freak things. Like he doesn't give a shit about his body at all. Like he's tough as nails, but like if he needs to wait a little bit, he's gonna get floored, like his head taken off to make a certain throw off balance, like with no, like I guess with pretty. He's just kind of a little bit reckless, like out there
Yeah.
running around. He gets drilled a lot, so you can see why he gets hurt. It's not like freak things. So their medical staff obviously felt okay with it. I like that they drafted Banks in the round before that to kind of make up for the Trevor Penning pick that has been terrible at tackle,
Hmm.
and try and get the offensive line back on track before just throwing Shuck into it because it seems like Carr might not play, so Shuck might have to it's going to be him or Rattler. So
Yeah, which I'd rather, Spencer Rattler on the field.
yeah, he might have to play early. So
Yeah. And then we talked Dylan Gabriel, obviously we talked Shador, but the Hawks, man, belt to
yeah,
ass.
we have to talk Milrow. We have to
What do you
talk
think
Milrow.
about belt to ass, man? I'm just gonna call him belt to ass. I don't even want to say his real name.
Yeah,
If you don't know who I'm
so
talking about, you need to go on Twitter once or twice a day.
yeah, go ahead and if you want to see, so when he was asked by the Seahawks media about teams that passed on him and what they can expect from him, he said belt to ass. So Milrow is coming in to play. Obviously, Darnold's going to be the starter, but I like that Milrow is going to have a year or even two behind Darnold as long as Darnold can stay healthy and play well, because he needs a year at the very least to sit and figure out how to make reads in a pro offense, go through his progressions, put touch on the ball. He's an awesome deep ball thrower, but he needs to learn everything below that, like in between that. He's the best athlete out of the quarterbacks in the class in terms of running. I mean, he's a horse when he gets going. It's crazy. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I was a little nervous when we were bringing him in for visits before the draft because I thought when they started reporting that and that he was going to be going to the draft, I started to get nervous that we were thinking about taking him like in the first round, and that to me would have been a huge mistake. But getting him super late in the third, one of the last picks of the third, is perfect because it sets the expectation that Darnold's the starter. He gets to develop everything. All of his answers are awesome. Not even just the belt to ass answer. Like he just seems like he's coming into work, like work hard, know his role. Everybody at Bama seems to think he's a good leader. Nick Saban, after he got drafted, was like super excited. He just seems like a really good, has a good head on his shoulders. Seems like a good leader, and so I'm optimistic that Darnold for maybe a year or two as the starter, and then hopefully he develops behind. And if he doesn't, it was a third round pick, and it's not like we wasted like a high second or a late first on him if he doesn't work out for some reason. So I'm optimistic about it. I already am loving the TikTok edits. I need the TikTok because I don't even have TikTok. I only see it on Twitter. But these kids have too much time on their hands, and I love the TikTok edits. I need more out of pocket like Jalen Milrow against Georgia, that game where he was awesome. I need all those edits with weird music. Um, I want a Claro edit. Give me a Claro edit. I need something weird behind it. Um, so I'm
I
excited.
think
I'm
that's
just
the
excited that he has some
best.
aura.
Yeah, I think that's best is like being a fan and like after the draft, seeing all these like hard ass edits about the people you just drafted. So fucking awesome.
Bro,
I think of Caleb Johnson. Like they had the craziest edit for him, and I'm like, this is Najee Harris 2.0, but I fucking love it and I die for this guy. It's
bro, I
awesome.
saw a fucking Torrey Horton, like
Yes.
our fifth or sixth round receiver. I saw a Torrey Horton edit for a full minute, and I like Torrey Horton, but I'm like, does he need an edit for a full minute? I don't really think so.
I fucking love it though. The people die for, like they they die for their team, and I think
Exactly.
a sick ass edit, no matter if they were drafted in the first round or the sixth round.
Yep. But
Uh,
I
but
like
we
that.
can
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
go. I was gonna say we move on from quarterbacks, but if you had something
Yeah.
else to say on the Jalen Milrow,
Oh, I was just gonna say, like last thing, I like that I read a thing that teams had asked him like what he needs to work on, and he went through like a full list of like, things that he needs to work on in terms of being a thrower. And the team was like, you don't feel like nervous telling us things like that you need to work on. And he basically was like, if anybody comes in here and tells you that they don't have things to work on, they're calling you stupid because they don't think you can watch film.
but wide receivers, obviously T Mac. I love that pick by Carolina. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Cowboys. I don't know what they would have done to him, but I think it would have been weird with CD across from him. So I think having two up and coming guys for Carolina is going to be huge, especially with Leggett and him. I don't know if they still have Thielen or if he's a free agent, but who knows? But having those two young guys, obviously Bryce Young's still going to be there. Bryce Young had a couple of good games last year when it looked promising. So I'm rooting for the Panthers. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you hate the Panthers. You cannot like not root for them. That's like the Browns doing good. You don't. You gotta root for them, man. They have had so many poverty years and such a poverty franchise that I hope they can turn something around and get at least get like 7 wins on this season. And if T Mac helps that, good for them. I think Legette's going to be their like mid yardage, kind of get the ball in his hands, see what he can do, and then T Mac's going to be like the deep ball threat and just let his hands do the work, kind of just throw it up there. As long as Bryce Young can get that thing to him, that's all that matters.
I want the Panthers to do well, and I want Young to do well because he was getting thrown under the bus, especially with how good Stroud did the first year, and then it kind of seemed like, damn, they traded all that to the Bears, and Bryce is going to be a bust. But he was very promising last year. I like that they're trying to build around him with offense. I don't think T Mac is going to be a good pro though. Um, I kind of like when my receivers are open, and T Mac never seems to be open. I like that he's a contested. I like that he can make the contested catches, but I kind of think he's so good at it because he has to, because he can't separate and he couldn't even separate in college. It makes me nervous. I know he's huge and he makes awesome catches. He's really exciting. I want him to do well. Everybody that gets drafted, I want to do well. I'm just pretty cautious about T Mac. I don't think he's. I just don't know if he is exactly what they needed. I kind of wanted them to go defense, and I think that could help Bryce as well to go defense and then go receiver later. They could have taken like a pass rusher like Michael Williams or Jalen Walker, and maybe stop somebody every once in a while because they couldn't do that at all last year. Some of those games they lost, Bryce played pretty well and the offense looked pretty good, and they just couldn't stop anybody. So I'm worried about T Mac getting taken so high and having so much expectation. I don't know if he. I just don't. I don't know how good he's going to be. He makes me nervous. I like my receivers to be like a little bit open, just a little
Yeah.
bit in college.
I think of him the same way I think of George Pickens. Like George Pickens doesn't have the best route running, he doesn't have the best get off, but if you throw that bitch up to him, there's about a 75% chance he's coming down with it. And
Yeah, he does catch it every time.
yeah. So that's my only thing. Um Other receivers, I think Igbuka was a great pick for Tampa Bay. I think he's gonna fit the same mold that Chris Godwin did and kind of be that short yardage guy. I hate being a broken record, but give him the ball, see what he can do with space. Especially having Mike Evans still and doing what Mike Evans does. They're gonna put their number one DB on him and then put some trash can on Mbuka and see what he can do. So I think that's gonna be a good fit for him, especially with Baker Mayfield playing as well as he is. And I think next year he's gonna play even better. So it'll be nice for him to have a young talent and especially with Godwin coming off a pretty gruesome injury, seeing what he can do. And I think isn't he still a free agent or did they sign him again?
No, they re-signed him to like 3 year deal, but
Yeah, so I mean having those three people, like
and McMillan came on at
oh
the end of the
yeah.
year too. So like they have a pretty good receiving core, four guys.
Mm-hmm. But I thought it's a great pick by the Bucks.
No, nothing to add really, other than just like I said, four good guys on that receiving core, and their offense was already pretty stellar. So Bucks once again probably going to win the NFC South again.
Yeah. I mean,
So I
unless
like
the
that.
Panthers have something to do with it. That could be my hot take for the year. Panthers win the NFC South. Another kind of late one I wanted to touch on just because I randomly watched a bunch of WSU games, but Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams was a fucking dog for the Cougs all season, and I think Drake May is going to sling that bitch to him. I think he's gonna have like fucking 7 receptions a game, like kind of forcing the ball to him. Same thing we saw with Malik Neighbors in his first year, but I think Kyle Williams is gonna have a great year.
I love Kyle Williams. I liked that pick. I wanted the Hawks to get Kyle Williams at some point in the draft. I know we kind of waited on receiver, but I loved the Patriots draft overall, especially the Kyle Williams pick in the
Mm-hmm.
third. I think he could be one of those guys that we look back on, and in a wide receiver class that looks like it could be pretty hit or miss. I think he could be a guy we look back on, and he could be one of the best, top five or top three receivers from this draft class. So I loved the Kyle Williams pick, especially for, like I said, young quarterback and Drake May have a guy to throw it up to. And he has burners too. He separates. He's really good. I like
Yes.
Kyle Williams a lot. So
Yeah. Great pick by that. But moving on to running backs, obviously we got Genty. Everyone's going to be high on Genty this year. I think it was kind of inevitable that the Raiders were going to take him, and I still think he's going to have fucking, I don't know, 15, 20 rushes a game. Like it's going to be up there, and I think they're going to try to base their whole offense around him, which I don't mind because I think he's kind of like a takeover guy. Uh, but hopefully that doesn't bite them in the ass and he doesn't get like an early injury kind of a thing. But I guess we'll just have to see.
I'm more excited to see what happens with Omari and Hampton in the Chargers offense. I'm excited about Genty. I want him to do well, but I thought Hampton was like a slam dunk pick for the Chargers in the first round, especially because him and Najee together, like I think Hampton's like a home run hitter type guy, but he's also gets physical. Where and Najee is mostly physical, like he's not going to break you with any speed or anything like that. But it seems like 3 4 yards each time, maybe 9 or 10 if like he breaks it a little bit. I
Yeah.
just think if they can like get into the way that they want to run offense, which is obviously like run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, play action with the Herbert, I think they could be a team that like in the fourth quarter of these games, you don't want to tackle either of those guys because you're just tired of getting hit by them.
Mhm.
And Hampton can break one on you too. So I like Hampton. Plus, it gives Herbert like a legit receiver out of the backfield for the like. He didn't have that as much last year. I know Dobbins was decent out of the backfield catching the ball, but like Eckler was like a really big target for him early in his career. So I like that they went and got Hampton as like a guy that can catch the ball too.
Yeah. With the Chargers, I think last year, I don't know if Harbaugh has like some idea that he wants with his running backs, but obviously last year having Gus Edwards and JK, Amarion and Najee are kind of like the same mold but better, in my opinion. So I don't know if he's trying to
Like an
have
upgraded version.
like an upgraded version of Gus and JK. So I mean, it seemed to work out better for him or well enough for him last year to get the wins that they did and make the playoffs. But I think it'll just work a little bit better, especially with Najee having that experience and he's got kind of a little like chip on his shoulder this year with the
Yeah,
Steelers not re-signing him. So I think he's got something to prove. And then I
definitely.
think he's also going to be a good mentor to Amarion, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. I liked the Marion pick, and then I like that Najee's going to be there with him.
Yeah. And then obviously Quinshawn going to the Browns again. He's going to be their workhorse. I think he'll be good over there. But the one I did want to touch on was Travion Harris to New England. I think that was a great pick for him just because Travion Harris all year was more of a kind of protect the quarterback kind of guy. And I think having him protecting Drake May in like shotgun scenarios and stuff like that is going to really help them, especially because their line is still developing. Having that guy that can pick up a guy on the edge or something like that, just so Drake May has a couple more seconds in the pocket, I think it's going to be huge for him. And he is kind of a fucking beast running the ball too.
He's awesome out of the backfield as a pass catcher too. So like even if he's not in pass pro where he is really good, he can just kind of leak out. And we saw it in the national championship game. Like he can just take it to the house, or in the Texas game before the national championship game. Like he can just take it to the house pretty much anytime you get in the ball. So I loved the Travion Henderson pick um, for the Patriots. I loved the Patriots draft overall. Like I said earlier, like Kyle Williams, Travion Henderson. They got playmakers around Drake May, and they got guys to protect him with Will Campbell. So I loved their draft. Quick on Judkins, I kind of had a feeling that he would go before Henderson, even though Henderson was like considered the better player coming out of college, just more dynamic. I thought Judkins would get taken before Henderson just because I think he has what a lot of NFL teams are looking for, just kind of that physicality and like he has like a certain makeup, the way he answers questions. I just feel like they're looking for guys like that. Not to say Henderson isn't that guy. I think he's awesome too, but I just had a feeling that Judkins might go a little bit earlier, and I think that's a great pick for the Browns, especially because they're kind of going to have to leave the Nick Chubb era in the past, just unfortunately because of all the injuries, and this could be another version of that, like just a pounder. So I liked it.
Yeah. And then Cam Scatterbo too. That was a sleeper of a fucking pick.
Scadaboo. Scadaboo's the man.
Scatterbo is your man, another ASU boy.
Yeah, Scadaboo, ASU alum, probably the most exciting player ASU's had since they had freshman Jaden Daniels, who wasn't even very good as a
Yeah.
freshman, but he did beat Justin Herbert in Tempe, which was awesome. But Scadaboo was like the entire offense. I mean, ASU had a really good, um, younger quarterback, Sam Levitt, but Scottaboo got the ball like a million times a game, and he's the only reason that they were in that Texas game. He's throwing touchdowns, he's catching touchdowns, he's running for touchdowns, he's throwing up, coming back in the game. So I like him going to the Giants. Like him and Tracy could be a really interesting combo because Tracy's more of a like quick kind of make you miss type back, and then you bring
Yeah.
Scotabo in to just hit the fuck out of you. I just think that's going to be kind of a fun backfield. The Giants could be competitive, like they're gonna have a good pass rush. I'm not saying the Giants are gonna like win, 10 games, but like they're gonna have a good pass rush. If Russell Wilson slash Jackson Dart can like,
Slash
yeah, whichever one it is,
or
if
Jameis.
either of them can just or Jameis, yeah, don't forget about Jameis. If they can just kind of not turn the ball over, I think they're gonna be able to run the ball pretty well and play defense and kind of that can win you 8-9 games. So
I mean, they're probably gonna try to do like kind of what the Steelers did, wear you down, kick some field goals, hopefully not let you score as much as they do.
exactly.
Which I think they're doing it right, building the defense and then getting young guys on offense, but also having the two probably one of the better quarterback rooms in the NFL. I know it's a complete opposite of people, but I think Jameis and Russ would be the right guys to look up to because I mean Jameis is always going to be the one that's like making sure that you're going out there with confidence, and then Russ is like the guy that I mean he's been to the Super Bowl, he's won a Super Bowl, like he's been with
Yeah.
elite offenses. I think he's going to do a great job developing him, um, or like Jackson Dart, whoever the fuck's playing.
Yeah.
Um, so and also having like Cam and Tracy. I mean Tracy was his second year too.
This will be his second year, yeah. And he was good last year. I mean, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's quick.
Yeah, so I think that 1-2 combo is gonna be good, and I don't know. Look out for the Giants, man. Something might
Yeah.
happen.
No, I
But
like
yeah,
that.
the also big story within the draft was the Chicago Bears taking Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren.
Yeah. I kind of hinted at like the fact that some teams think Loveland is better than Warren. I'm not one of those people. I think Warren is better than Loveland, but I think they're both. It's kind of pick your preference with them. Like Warren is more of a grinder. He's gonna be a like a George Kittle. Like he's gonna block and he's impossible to take down. I've heard people even throw out Gronk, which Gronk is the best tight end of all time. So to me, so that's crazy. But like if at his peak, like if Warren is at his absolute most of his potential, he does have some of those traits where it's like guys just kind of fall off and he's huge and
Yeah,
he's faster than you think, but it takes him a little bit to get going. Loveland's more quick, take the top off the defense. Kind of a little bit more of a burner, less of a blocker, but he will still do that. He had to play at Michigan; they run the ball a lot, so he can still. He's not a liability as a extra offensive lineman. But the more I thought about it, I kind of like the fit of Loveland with the Bears and with Ben Johnson. I think they're going to get him kind of in that Laporta role
yeah.
and
They
just
still
have him
have
move
Cole
around.
Kmet, right?
They still have Komet too, yeah. And the
Yeah.
the Lions ran a ton of 12 personnel, so one running back, two tight end personnel, and so having Loveland and Komet out there at the same time, not the best like blocking, physical, in your face group of tight ends, but they can both take the top off and play pretty well together off each other. So I like the Loveland pick. They just preferred him over Warren. Obviously, they had their choice,
Mhm.
and so then Warren falls to the Colts, which I kind of liked Warren as like a fantasy sleeper. Now I don't really. I don't love him with like Jones and Richardson throwing to him, but I do think he at least gives the Colts, not to switch the subject to the Colts, but he gives those two guys like a security blanket at tight end, which I think both of them need, especially Richardson. If it ends up being him who starts, he needs somebody that just like, oh, that guy's 4 yards away. I can just throw it to him right there, and then he'll take it and run with it maybe for 20. So
Yeah. I mean, my good friend. He's a Colts fan, and he's like all over it and everything. And I'm like, yo, you gotta have someone to throw to him. As long as you
Yep.
got someone to throw to him, I'm on board and everything. But if that's AR, I think he's gonna have not the best season.
Maybe they
Um,
drafted Warren to be a quarterback. He can sling it.
Fire. He can sling it. I saw that shit. That was awesome.
He played quarterback in high school. Watch them just be like, all right, we actually drafted Warren as a quarterback. Um,
Yeah,
just has he has
I
the
like
longest
that.
hair in the NFL as a quarterback. Um, no, I liked both picks for both teams. I just think it might take a year for like if Loveland's awesome this year because Caleb develops and like the offense is good. I think people will and like Warren maybe isn't as good. I still think in a few years they could be even
Look at that.
um, if the Colts can
100%.
figure out their quarterback.
And then switching to defense too. Oh, but Harold Fannin, your boy, is going to the Browns.
Yeah,
We should
Harold
probably
Fannin.
touch on that, because we're the only ones that believe in him, and we'll see what
We'll touch
happens.
on Bowling Green legend Harold Fannin.
hmm Keep your radar on him, and it's gonna be weird with Njoku because obviously Njoku's a dog, probably top
Yeah,
five tight end in the NFL. Uh, so I don't know what that's gonna look like with them. I don't know if the Browns need to restructure his contract or something coming up, so that's why they kind of got a safety blanket on Harold Fannin, or if they think Harold Fannin is a more of a blocking tight end, which I really hope because I'm trying to see this dude in space and hurdle some more people. But I don't know. I like the pick by the Browns. I think he's gonna be a fucking dog, like you said. After you came out and said that, I did look up his highlights, and I was like, this dude is kind of crazy, and I understand why he holds every record at Bowling Green.
yeah, he's a stud, and he tore up, like I said, one of the better defenses, Penn State. That was a close game. Like they were in that game against Penn State early in the season, I know, but it was basically all on Fannon's back. He was the whole offense at Bowling Green. So I kind of like him, like being behind Njoku for a bit and like getting to kind of see the game because he could end up molding himself into a player like that kind of could be a big physical tight end. So I really want to see Fannin do well. Obviously, I hope the Browns, similar to the Colts, can get somebody to get the ball out to any of their playmakers. But I was excited about Fannin, and I like the fit with the Browns long term. So shout out to our boy. Shout out to Bowling Green.
Shout out to our boy. But a couple D tackles taken in the first round too. Uh, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon. All great picks by the teams that took him, honestly. Besides, I mean, the Kenneth Grant one with Miami is kind of a safety blanket. I didn't know. I feel like they didn't know who they wanted to pick, so they kind of just took the best available option. But I think Mason Graham's also going to be a dog with fucking what's his name on the Browns? Can't think
Garrett.
of his name. Yeah, Miles Garrett. Those two, I think they're gonna have a crazy good year. Having because most of the time people are double teaming Miles Garrett on the edge, so making sure that Mason Graham's one on one every time, I think he's gonna have a pretty good year.
Yeah, Graham in the middle is going to stuff the run and get after the passer. And I liked that the Browns, like, okay, the Travis Hunter trade, I actually liked for both sides because I thought the Jags probably gave up too much, but I think they wanted to go get their guy, and they want a guy that is going to be entertaining, sell jerseys, give them like an identity, something to go see in Jacksonville. I know they have Trevor Lawrence, but he hasn't exactly been like what he was supposed to be as number one overall pick. And I also don't think he's as exciting for like, fans and kids and people that are growing up in Jacksonville that want to go see the Jaguars and be excited. I think having a guy that plays both sides of the ball and is going to be helpful to Trevor Lawrence on offense. Like, I liked that they went up and got their guy. I thought they gave up too much, and the Browns made a good trade to trade back because what's Travis Hunter going to do on the Browns? Catch the ball from Kenny Pickett. He's going to be frustrated probably. Pickett, Flacco,
Yeah.
the options are slim there. So, you know, them knowing that they could get Graham at 5, and that's an awesome pick too, and then also getting draft capital in return for that, I thought that was awesome by them. I think Graham's going to be great. The Kenneth Grant one, that was earlier than I thought he would go, but because that was a guy that I thought could go late in the first, and he was kind of a sleeper in the first round of mine. If they can coach him up in Miami, I think he's going to be a stud, and they needed that. So liked that pick. Loved the Nolan pick, falling all the way to 16 with the Cardinals. I think he's going to be awesome if he can get, just kind of his. Apparently, he just kind of needs to get his practice habits and like get a little bit more engaged, but on tape and in the games, he's never taking plays off or anything like that. So it's a practice thing apparently, but I think he's got Calais Campbell, a vet in the room with him, so I think he could turn into a total stud for the Cardinals. I thought the Cardinals draft was awesome as well, so liked that. Um, and then the Mason Graham pick, real quick, just to touch on it too, to go back to it. I think he's like you said, with Garrett being like getting multiple guys, multiple people kind of going at him. I think Graham's going to have just mostly like a center to deal with most of the time. So I think he's going to get after the quarterback a lot.
Yeah. And kind of the same situation with Derek Harmon and the Steelers. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
they're going to double team TJ Watt like they did all year last year. And Cam had his best year last year because of that. So I think if you can get Derek Harmon, maybe if you can give him 50% of the snaps, maybe 60 or 40% of the snaps over Cam, I think having those two guys that are both just fucking workhorses come in and try to just blow up a center every time, I think they're going to be very successful doing that. And like learning off of Cam Hayward might be one of the best people to do that as well. Just because Cam's a dude, he's like a Steelers guy through and through. So I think he's gonna want the best for the team, especially in the future. But also another pick that I wanted to bring up, just Steelers basis rolling off that, but Jack Sawyer, one of my favorite picks in
Yeah.
the draft for the Steelers. Such a Steelers pick too, like having picked TJ. I don't know what was it, 2017, but obviously he was a first round pick, and I think Jack Sawyer could be that caliber, if not like an Alex Highsmith kind of guy. So I think they are kind of just planning for the future. Like we still don't know what's going to happen with TJ Watt, if he's going to leave or if we're going to restructure his contract. So who knows what happens, but I do love those two picks from the Steelers. I know the Steelers fandom hates it and they wanted Shadesi the whole time. So I think those two picks were great. And then also like getting Will Howard super, super late is going to be, I think it's going to be the better option for the Steelers. Cause if we would have got Shador, just talking about that, like we've also had a lot of locker room drama within the past years. And I think the Steelers are kind of just done with that because they're in the mode right now. If they don't get a first round playoff win, we're going to see the same thing we are seeing with like the Pirates and selling the team, getting new ownership in there, trying to just restart something else. And I don't want to see that as a Steelers fan. I love the Rooney family. So we'll see what goes on, but I do love all of the picks that the Steelers took.
I agree on, especially on Jack Sawyer. I think him being behind TJ, like if they keep him, obviously, if they keep TJ and he can sit behind him, like not sit, but like, not have to be like the man and then kind of just watch TJ work every day at practice, day in, day out, he could turn into a monster. So I
We'll
like that.
see, man. We'll see. If you're a fucking tackle and you got to deal with TJ Watt and then this fucking young psychotic guy in Jack Sawyer, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a long Sunday for you, man.
Jack
But
Sawyer's a real
other
son of a
than
bitch
that,
out there.
he is, man. He is. Both those dudes coming off a fucking national championship on the Steelers, fire me up, man. Fire me up. But Jalen Walker dropping was absolutely crazy, and Atlanta got a steal in that.
Bro, I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that. I thought he was maybe when he started dropping like that, I was like, is he going to get all the way to 18 at Seattle? I'm going to like have like I'm going to freak out if that happens because I think he's the best defensive player for me. He was my favorite defensive player for the Seahawks specifically. Like if he could just somehow drop there, like watching Georgia games, I remember telling like people in our friend group that are Seahawks fans, like this is the guy that I want for the Seahawks if they go defense. So I got excited. I thought he might fall, but the Falcons, that was a perfect fit, perfect pick for them. The fact that he just fell in their laps, that was fantastic. He's also a local, like he went to Georgia, so now they finally can have everybody shut up about them never taking a pass rusher and never taking a Georgia guy, because that was like a big storyline is that they have a terrible pass rush and they ignore Georgia players. So getting Jalen Walker at pick number 15 was fantastic, and then they went and did the most Falcons thing that you could do after that, and they traded a ton to the Rams to get back into the first round and take James Pierce, which I like James Pierce, but he's like an undersized edge guy. He's great. He's really good, but he's an undersized edge guy who's not going to be out there for all three downs. And I know they really want to get their pass rush better, but man, giving up a first next year to move back into the first round and take a pass rusher that is good, but you could have maybe gotten similar production just by staying put. And you already didn't have a lot of draft capital. I just thought that was crazy. Um,
I mean, we were texting the whole time, and like we both, when we saw that, we were like, "What the fuck is going on?"
yeah,
But I mean, hopefully they see something in him that not every other, what, how many teams before him? 25 teams before him didn't see. So
yeah,
I think we both thought
yeah,
he was going to be a late first rounder, like early second rounder guy,
yep.
but I didn't think that a team was going to give up that much to get him. But who knows?
No, I think that was crazy. So we'll see. I want James Pierce to do good. I still think he's good, but now given the context of what they gave up, I thought that was too much. But we'll
Uh,
see.
yeah. Also, just looking on fucking the edge rushers that were drafted. Why is Baltimore
Yeah,
so good at drafting? Every single year, why are they so fucking good at drafting? It's crazy. Because they got Mike Green in the second round as a 27th
yep.
pick. I think that was a massive sleeper. And then who? They also got a safety, right? Yeah, Malik Starks. Come
Malachi
on,
Starks,
dude.
yep.
Come on. Oh, yeah, Malachi. Shit. And then they also got two more tackles. Like you can't go wrong taking tackles, man, especially in that kind of offense. Last year, I don't know how many guards and tackles got hurt. Like
Yeah,
behind Lamar, which is gonna happen when you're always pushing forward, no matter if that's like a RPO or something like that. Like he rarely was sitting in the pocket for that long. So I think they're always good at just fucking drafting for some reason. They're always
yeah.
fucking good at drafting.
They wait and guys fall to them. They wait, and if they do like a guy, they'll trade up and get him. They're always good at that. The Mike Green thing, he obviously fell because of the off the field stuff, like the two accusations of assault that he came out and spoke about at the combine. But the Ravens are a
Mhm.
really good organization, so they must have I mean, they obviously did enough research and spoke with him enough that they felt comfortable taking him, and they probably just felt like he had fallen so much that it was like we can't just let him keep falling like this. Probably was a top, could have been like a top 15 pick if he didn't have any off the field issues, and we can get him late second. So, but I trust an organization like that. Like if he was taken by an organization that I think is a dumpster fire, like if the I don't know, if the Browns took him or something like that, or like just one of those teams that you're like, oof, I don't know if you guys are the best team for a guy like that to go to. But the Ravens took him, and they are a very smart organization that obviously does their research on guys. So I think he'll be fine there.
With the DBs, weird draft for the DBs too. Only if you count Travis, only seeing two in the first round with Jade Barron going to the Broncos and
Yeah,
then Maxwell Harrison going to Buffalo. I think those are two good picks for both those teams. But then the big one is Will Johnson falling all the way to the second round. And like you said, the Cardinals had a hell of a draft, and picking up him is going to be huge for them.
Cardinals had an awesome draft. Will Johnson falling was surprising. I didn't. I think teams are really worried about his medicals. It sounds like, and like um, he does have flaws in his game. Like he's more of his own corner that needs to play in front of him. Like turning around and catch up speed is not like he can get burned for sure. There's going to be plays where guys run past him and he guesses wrong, but when he guesses right, he takes it to the house. I still think he's a really good corner, and the coaching staff in Arizona defensively is really solid. So I think he's going to develop well. So that was a steal, I thought.
Agree 100%. But other than that, I mean, kind of touched most positions, most things people were talking about in the draft. Other teams that I want to highlight, uh, I know the Browns, they didn't get Travis, and I think that was a good situation for him. But I think overall they had a pretty good draft. They got a lot of positions that they needed, and even like getting Shador that late, I think that was kind of just a plus for them, even though they obviously don't need it with a five quarterback room and all of the drama following Deshaun Watson. But I think they did a good job um, all around getting the picks that they did. But the Dylan Gabriel pick was kind of
Yeah.
weird for me. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
I Yeah, I thought the Gabriel pick was weird, especially if he planned on taking Shador the next round or if he kept falling. That was weird to me, but I agree with you that getting Shador that late, even if it is an off the field issue, it doesn't work out. What if it does? Like, what if he I still think he on paper was or on the field was the second best quarterback in kind of a weak class. So what if he ends up, being able to be the guy for them? That would be obviously
Yeah,
exciting for Browns fans to have an actual quarterback. So I like that they took the
and they
flyer on
got him
him
for nothing, for
for
absolutely
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool.
And yeah,
But
and
yeah,
I've already
unless
touched
you
on the
had
teams.
yeah, I was gonna say you touched on your teams that you liked.
Patriots and Cardinals, I thought killed the draft.
I wanted to just because I was just searching the web looking for some early futures, seeing what I could put down.
Yeah,
But they only had four people, and assume you can figure out who the four people were for like their over unders as far as their props this year. They had Cam Ward 3,000 yards as their over under set at
just
that
3,000 flat.
3,000 flat.
I'll go under, not because I think he's going to have a bad year, but because I think I don't think the Titans are going to be very good. And I also think that they're going to try and run the football, like, and try and play some possession football and not put him in a situation where, like, ideally, you don't have your young quarterback in a situation where he has to throw it, 35 times a game. So I just think off of sheer volume that he's going to go under that. I think he's going to have a good year. It's just not going to be like throwing the ball a ton.
I'll take the over on that. Just simply because I think they're going to hand the ball off a lot and they're going to have to pass. But then with the touchdowns, I don't think he's going to get the touchdowns. I'm sorry. 20
What were the
touchdowns is
touchdowns at?
fine. 20.
Yeah.
20 flat.
I think people underestimate how hard it is to go be a rookie in the NFL and what the jump is. I think they just look at like, well, he was good at Miami, he was good at WSU. Of course he'll throw 20. Like my favorite quarterback throws 20. It's like go back and look at your favorite quarterback's rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were, you know, all world like amazing their first year, which some guys are. Like
Jaden Daniels.
CJ Stroud was awesome.
Yeah.
But like go back and look at your favorite guy's first year. I bet they didn't throw 20 touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't even know if Jaden had 20 last year, did he?
Throwing, I'm not sure. I know because he had a good mix of rushing and throwing. I think he had just over 20 throwing, but like that was a good first year, and he
Yeah.
still was barely over 20 throwing as far as I remember. So
Yeah.
I think he'll go under. And the thing is, like, it's not because we think Ward's going to have a bad year. I just think the Titans are not a great team, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be tough for him. So
And then I set their wins. This is a personal thing. I set their wins at 5.5.
that's your guess is like 5.5 for them. I think they
Yeah.
could go. Well, they play in the AFC South, which is not a good division. It's basically It's Houston Colts, Jag, and like the Colts could be, sorry to your friend that's a Colts fan, but they could be a total dumpster fire. Um,
Well, they could go either way. Because, I mean, they did it last year. They had some games where they looked crazy good, and they had some games where they looked like the worst team in the league.
and that's how I see the Jags too. So
Yeah.
it's like they could get to 6 wins if like the Jags and Colts go downhill and those end up being 2 wins, but it's tough. I That's a good
Yeah.
number, 5.5.
Yeah. Um, Here's an easy one. Abdul, uh, 7.5 sacks.
Over.
I agree with the over. We don't even need to touch on
Over.
that.
I
I think
I
he's
think that's
fucking a dog.
it's not even that I think Abdul's good. It's mostly just he's going to have so many single rushes because it's going to be him, Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns. Like he's going to have so many just one-on-ones
Yeah.
that he can win. That
Mm-hmm.
I think all those guys are gonna eat.
Yes, I agree. Uh, and then Travis Hunter, his yards were set at 700.
This one's tough because it's like, are they gonna? It sounds like they're gonna let him play both.
Yeah,
But
but
like
it's
this,
how many snaps? Because he can't do all of them on both sides. There's no
let me
way.
just say, if you bet on this, you need to call the gambling hotline because this is like impossible to figure out. Like how are you gonna tell as unless you work for the Jags and you're breaking league rules by gambling because you know that they're gonna use him as a full-time receiver, how can you bet either way on this? Because you take the over, you're basically saying you know he's gonna be a full-time receiver or he's gonna play a ton of receiver. You take the under, you're basically saying you know he's not gonna do that. So how would you know that? This is one of those where it's like it's impossible to figure out because we don't know how they're going to use him. I would love to
Yeah,
say I
I
hope
mean,
it's the over. I hope he's awesome, but
I agree. I would. It's the same thing with his touchdowns. Set it at 5. I hope he
yeah,
gets more than 5. You would think he would, being that he's going to be the face for a while now. And Trevor Lawrence kind of has something to prove. So I hope it's 5. I would assume it's going to be over 5, but like you said, it's going to be a weird season just to see how he does. But the over that I will take is 1.5 interceptions.
yeah. No, I
That
like that
division,
because yeah,
yeah, that's free money in my opinion. 1.5. How do you not get 1.5 when you're in that division? But
and just I think he's so instinct. Like if you watch him play, he's a guy that like the ball finds him. Like he has really good just ball skills, and
yeah,
so I think 1.5. I think he'll get 2 easy.
yeah. And then Genty, I would take over on both these just because I know how the Raiders offense is going to use him. But 1,100 rushing yards and 7.5 touchdowns.
I would go over on both also. Because I do think they're going to use him a ton. The touchdowns one makes me nervous because it's that just rushing or is that rushing and receiving? Just rushing,
I
I'm
would.
assuming.
I'm assuming that's just rushing. If it was rushing and receiving, it'd probably
Yeah,
be somewhere around like
like
11,
nine
12.
or
You
9 or 10.
think?
Yeah, something like that.
I yeah. I don't. I think. I think he gets it. I think
I
he's
think
gonna
he
have a
gets
couple
it.
breakaways. They're definitely gonna use him in short yardage, especially close to the goal
Yeah,
line. And he's that kind of guy that's gonna fall forward for
yeah.
like 3 or 5 yards.
Well, I think he gets 1,100 yards just because the extra game. Like you look at like the stats since they added the extra game. Like that's almost like when you used to have 1,000 yards. Now I feel like if you had a good
Yeah,
year. So,
yeah,
no, I think he could go over on both for sure.
yeah. But then last thing is just our early predictions on defensive rookie of the year and offensive rookie of the year.
I think my defensive rookie of the year, I'm having trouble with this, but I think I want to go. I'm going to go with Carter because we said we like his sacks over. And I think if he gets to like, 8 or 9 sacks, and if he can get to double digit sacks and like, let's say 1 or 2 of those, he forces a fumble as well, that's going to be one of those. And then the Giants like win 9 games or something. I think that's the path for him to get there. My sleeper on that would be um, low key Jade Barron with the text with or coming out of Texas with the Broncos because he's on the other side of Pat Surtain. I just think that they're gonna eat up. And if he gets like has a weird year where people tend to avoid Surtain, so if like they're avoiding Surtain, Barron is not like a walk in the park either. He could end up with a like an inflated interception number because guys are afraid of Surtain. So that's my like
Yeah.
sleeper.
Um, I definitely agree with the Abdul. I want to kind of do a different pick just because it's
Yeah.
boring saying that the top pick in the draft is going to win defensive rookie of the year. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Jalen Walker just because I
Hell yes.
think he's going to get a lot of snaps in Atlanta because they don't really have anyone else to resort to. And if he gets, I mean, he's going to have a lot of tackles. He's going to have a fuck ton of tackles. If he forces a couple fumbles, I mean, if he gets a couple of sacks, maybe a pick, who knows? But I think he's a fucking dog, and I think he's going to be good for Atlanta, especially like I said, having that many snaps. So we'll see. And then I do like the Baron pick as well. As far as like DBs, I don't know. I didn't really study that much on DBs, but I think Jalen Walker is going to be my pick, and he's third right
I
now
like that
for
pick.
running. It's like a
I
big
like that pick for
Travis and
you.
then him. Yeah.
I like that pick for you. That was good, especially because, like you said, I think they're gonna have to let him get after the passer because they don't really have much of a pass rush. So he could end up with a pretty good sack number, and he plays off the ball too, so he could end up with like some picks. So I like that
Yeah.
pick. Offensive rookie of the
Offensive.
year. What do you think?
I'm gonna go Genty just because I've been saying it the last like month or two that he's gonna get a fuck ton of carries. He's gonna get a fuck ton of yards. If he gets a 1,100 yards rushing, like if he doesn't get rookie of the year, that'd be absolutely wild. Because I don't know who else he's going up with against. Seeing that obviously Jackson Dart's not going to play. He's not going to start the season, in my opinion. So I don't know if he's going to have enough accolades to win Rookie of the Year, really, unless he just goes on like a ridiculous streak of winning. But and obviously, Cam Ward too. Who knows? Who knows? You said it earlier that the Titans are fucking awful, and I don't know if he's gonna have the numbers to do it. But I'll say Genty, and then my sleeper. Shit, I'll go T Mac. T Mac for the sleeper, just because I
Yeah,
like my boy
I
with the
knew you were gonna go
hands.
T.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna go T Mac with something, whether it was sleeper or the actual rookie of the year.
I wouldn't have gone T Mac if he was on the boys. If he was on the boys, I wouldn't have gone T Mac. But I think Bryce
Yeah,
Young's gonna have a year.
I like the Genty pick. Obviously, that's gonna he's gonna get the ball a ton, so I think he's got a good chance. We both agree Cam Ward probably is gonna have a good year for a first overall pick, but I don't think he's gonna have one of those years where it's like he's the obvious offensive rookie of the year. I'm gonna go with Loveland. I think the Bears offense is gonna be really good. I think that Caleb Williams is gonna improve a lot. I think Ben Johnson is going to spread the ball out, but I also think Loveland is going to be surrounded by so many playmakers. Like, they have Roma Dunze, who I think is going to have a good year. They have, more. They have good receivers. Komet is already a good receiver too. I think the field's going to be spread so much that he's going to have a ton of space to work with, and I think he's going to surprise some people. And I think it's going to be one of those years where none of the rookies have like this outstanding year. It's going to be kind of a cluster. And I think if the Bears are competing in the NFC North and Loveland, I think he could get to, a pretty high touchdown count. And from a tight end, people love that. So I kind of like Loveland, even if that qualifies as what looks like a sleeper. I think he could end up being the favorite by the end of the year. And then if I had to do a sleeper, it would probably be Golden with the Packers. Their wide receiver room is really crowded. Their wide receiver room is super crowded, but I think he could establish himself as like a true number one if he comes out and just balls. And they throw the ball a ton, and Jordan Love loves to like air it out deep, and he's a burner. So if
Yeah.
the Packers are awesome and Golden has a good year, I think he's kind of my sleeper for he could sneak in there and get it.
I like that pick. I like that pick. I knew we talked about it not earlier, but we texted about it a little bit about how the Packers don't really have a number one. They have like a bunch of number twos. So I think a lot of the defense's attention is going to be on those other guys like fucking Jaden Reed and not Cole Anthony, but he looks like Cole Anthony,
Christian Watson,
Christian Watson, and then
Romeo Dobbs.
yeah. So like you said, he is a burner, and I think he's going to get the ball a lot. So I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
Hell yeah.
But transitioning from football to basketball, we got some offs, some fucking playoffs. Um, we just saw the Knicks beat the Pistons in a very controversial ending to the game. Like I think you just told me right before that the refs came out after the game and said that it was a foul. If it is a foul, then you might as well fucking call it in the game. But if we're gonna talk about it
Yeah.
after, I think that's
Yeah.
crazy.
If I'm the Pistons, that I would have rather the refs just keep that to themselves. I know they have to come out with a 2 minute report and say stuff like that, but that doesn't make me feel any better.
No.
Um, I thought watching it like after the game that it was a foul, like in real time. I thought Josh Hart made contact obviously with him on the shot. Pistons played good enough to win, I thought, but the reality is they didn't call it, and they're down 3-1 now, going back to New York. So our beloved Pistons are probably dead in the water. Even if they can steal another game at MSG, I still think if it, I just think it's tough to win three straight, especially when two of them are going to be in New York. So, um, stinks that that's kind of the way it has to end. But this is good for the Pistons as like a younger team. Next year they'll come back, hopefully add some more pieces, and they'll be good. The Knicks, that's cool, man. I'm happy you guys are going to beat the Pistons, but this is it for y'all. I mean, unless there's a crazy injury to the top two teams in the East, there's no shot they make it through either of them. So
And Durant is a fucking dog. He held Cat had to resort to three pointers today.
yeah,
And he was luckily like 5 for 7 from three. So I think they have a really good group, especially next year. They're gonna have a little like fucking blood in their mouth kind of a taste coming back, and they're definitely gonna make the playoffs. So
and Cade was
I like
awesome
it,
again today.
dude. Cade is a fucking dog. Like
Yeah, Cade's good,
everyone
man.
was shitting on the Pistons for taking him first overall, and he didn't have the best year really, but he's coming around, man. I like him. I like him. I think he's especially with the
I
new
love
era
Cade.
of like oversized point guards. I love it.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I was like, do you have anything else to touch on Cade, our boy Cade?
Dude, Cade, I love Cade. I think he had a tough time because that class, like I think Mobley, everybody was like, he kind of came out and he seemed like he could be the guy that should have been the number one pick maybe in that class. But I think Cade, if you do that draft again, I think you still take Cade because he handles the ball more. And so
Yeah.
I just like that the team has taken on his personality of kind of just, being they're a tough team. Duran was awesome today, like you said. He had like 15, 16 rebounds as well. So
Crazy.
um, I like that they have an identity, and I'm excited to see Cade continue to develop. I think he could be like a first team All NBA type of player at some point. So
Yeah. And then after that one, the Timberwolves beat the Lakers again, take 3-1 series lead.
are we going to see LeBron and Luca eliminated immediately? Seems
I
like
just
it.
want I just want to say we called it. We pretty much called everything that was going to happen. If the Timberwolves were able to do what we said that they could do, they're going to win the series, and they are doing exactly what we said.
Just out hustle, more athletic, younger. And I also think like we also said this too at the very beginning is like the Lakers were better than when that trade first happened. Everybody knew the Lakers won the trade, but they said the same thing. I don't know if that's going to help them this year because it's a lot to learn. Luca is like a player that you have to play his style, and so is LeBron. So them coming together that quickly was kind of a lot to ask. And so I know the series isn't over. It's 3-1. They could obviously come back. It's two of the best players. LeBron, one of the best players of all time. Luca, a top five player in the league. But the Wolves are doing what I thought they might be able to do with them, which is just out hustle, out physical, and just defensively, like kind of eliminate Reeves.
Yeah.
Because McDaniel's getting switched onto him, and then he switches off him, and now it's Nas Reed. Like he has nowhere to go. So,
Dude, well, like even DiVincenzo this series has been
yep,
great defensively. Like everyone sees him as that offensive guy off the bench, but like he's been, like you say, he's been fucking nails on D, man. Holding Reeves
yeah,
to, I don't even know what Reeves' average this series, but it hasn't been shit.
it hasn't been anywhere close to how he's looked in the regular season. In the regular season, he is confident and decisive. He's been indecisive in this series. With because I think he looks up and it's like, oh McDaniel's, oh Reed, DiVincenzo, oh Ant. Like it's like there's no escape for him. He's
Yeah,
not physically on that level. So
yeah. And then last night, yeah, we had Nuggets Clippers, big fucking buzzer beater by Aaron Gordon.
yeah,
Very controversial. I think he got it off. It looked like he was still touching it, but that shit was in the cylinder.
yeah,
Um,
it was already in the hoop going through it.
yeah.
So
So, I still think the Clippers look like the better team. I think they just kind of get complacent down the stretch, and that's like when Jokic really comes together is down the stretch. because he starts making those crazy like fadeaway shots. He's always getting boards, always running the floor. I don't know if he like just saves it till the fourth, but the Clippers are that team where they get an early lead and then they just get complacent and throw up terrible shots, don't really play defense, and then before you know it, they're down by two.
I'm still extremely confident, like you said, that the Clippers are the better team and that they're going to win the series. But man, they're putting unnecessary miles on like Kawhi and Harden, which I don't love because I just get nervous about Kawhi. I want him to stay healthy really bad because I love watching him
Mm-hmm.
play. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But I feel like they could have like won every game of this series already. And I know that just kind of speaks to how good Jokic is that he basically was able to both the games they won, he basically just like rose them from the ashes like it
Yeah.
just through like pure will.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had no business winning either of the games they won. Game
Yeah.
one was total they got totally outplayed, and then I thought they got outplayed for I think that they played really well and they got out to a big lead. But then I think the Clippers overall for the game, including the comeback, had outplayed them for most of that
Yeah.
game and the series. So it's a testament to how good Jokic is. I mean, they basically have like five and a half rotation players right now. They've got like
Mm-hmm.
nobody healthy. Aaron Gordon's playing on like half of a calf. Like I don't it's kind of crazy that they've won two games.
Well, I mean, in the other game that they won, fucking Russ bailed them out randomly.
Yeah. It's
But
it's crazy because they need Russ, but it's like, dude, if you're in a situation where you need Russ, that's bad. So
that's
like,
so bad, especially to
so
be in the
like,
playoffs. That's so bad.
yes, like if he
And
needs to be in your
like looking
rotation as like
on,
a six man, it's crazy.
yeah, crazy. And looking on, like I don't want to see the Nuggets play the Thunder. I think the Thunder absolutely fucking do the exact same thing they did to the Grizzlies. Like absolutely
Yeah.
mollywop them and just walk their way into the Western Conference Finals.
I would much rather see them play the Clippers. I think the Clippers have proven they're a tough matchup for them. The Clippers could win that series. Like
$100%.
if the Clippers and Thunder play and Kawhi stays 100% healthy and Harden keeps playing well, they could hypothetically win that series. I can't say the same about the Nuggets. The Nuggets could win a game, or like a game or two, but they will not win the series. And if they do win a game or two, it's going to be because Jokic puts on the cape. And I love seeing that, but I'd rather see the Clippers and OKC play like an awesome 7 game, 6, 7 game series, like I think they will.
Yeah.
So I still feel good about our Clippers being a sleeper. I despite the fact that switching to the wow, that was loud. Despite the fact that the Warriors won last night, I don't feel great about my Warriors like making a full run type of pick because Jimmy being hurt just
Yeah.
throws such a wrench in that. And even when he comes back, I don't know if he's going to be 100%. I know it's like a bone bruise or something like that, but it's just one
Yeah.
of those things like he's older, recovery is tough. I know that they pulled like a rabbit out of their hat last night, basically. Like it was like a magic trick to win that game. It was all Steph. I think even if they make it
Mm-hmm.
through the Rockets, it's gonna be like a 6, 7 game tough series, and then they're gonna be walking into another tough series. So
Yeah.
I don't feel as good about that as the Clippers pick that you had.
Yeah. But I
But
think you touched on
yeah,
everything as far as Jimmy being hurt. I think it's going to be pretty tough for them down the stretch. But you never know
yeah,
with Curry. You can't bet against Curry. It's like betting against Tom Brady. You can't do
he's
it.
the man.
He is a fucking man. But we did touch on Knicks, Pistons, Cavs, Heat. That series is basically over. We kind of figured that. Uh, I don't know
Yep.
if you have anything on that.
Don't need to see anything else from the Cavs. I still think they're the best team in the East. I think the
Mm-hmm.
Celtics and Cavs series that we are inevitably going to get in the East is going to be fucking awesome. And until then, the East is, it's there, it's happening, but
Yeah,
not as exciting as some of the West series for sure.
yeah. And then Pacers, Bucks. We saw the Bucks get one at home, which I think everyone saw coming.
Yep.
And I kind of feel the same way about tonight's game. They're favored by 3.5 points. I think they're definitely going to take tonight, but it's going to be a grinder for them. And
I don't
that
think they're going to take tonight.
really,
I think the Pacers win tonight. Yeah, I think the Pacers go up 3-1 tonight.
I love the
Um,
beef in that series. That is definitely the
yeah,
best series out of the East right now.
it's
Um,
funny.
Everyone talking shit, and then everything coming out is Halliburton, the most overrated player in the league. I think like that has just made this series way more than it should be, and it's fucking awesome
Yeah,
because everyone said out of the East that none of these games were going to be good. If the Pistons took today's game,
yeah,
that series would have been a lot more intriguing. And then like Bucks Pacers, I think if the Bucks take tonight's game, it's going to be like 50-50. But I've just been liking how competitive it's been. And then
yeah.
another thing too with every game in these series, all of the officiating, I feel like it's been super physical, which I like seeing, and it like reflects in the scoring. Like we're barely
Yeah.
getting over 100 points in these games, and I think it's better for basketball. Like shit, I'm not watching fucking SGA take 30 something free throws a game. Like I'd rather see go
Or
up and
Trey
down
Young.
and Trey Young, and like or Jalen Brunson. Like I'd rather see someone get fucking hacked a couple times, and then like when they get destroyed, call a foul on that, and
Yeah.
then and it's been a good transition because down the stretch in the fourth quarter, I feel like they've been calling more fouls that they should, but leading up to that, it's been a lot better in my opinion. Like seeing better play, more physical play. I think it's just better for the NBA.
I like that they're letting them play, especially in the playoffs. And I think they just know like a Giannis Bucks team is going to be physical and try and go to the basket, but not every time they get hit is it a foul. And
Yeah.
I like watching the Pacers play offense because I like Halliburton. I know he gets a lot of hate, and maybe off the field, off the court, he's not like you know as likable. If you're not a Pacers fan, maybe you'd find
Hmm.
him to be annoying. But on the court, I love that it's all ball movement and that they have like an identity on offense, and that it's tough to stop. So yeah, I think they win tonight.
It should be fun. It should be a good game.
Yeah.
But right now the Celtics are playing the Magic. Celtics are up 5 on the Magic. Magic took a weird win from them. I know
Yeah.
Jason Tatum wasn't playing, but I still think Celtics should have won. I would have loved to have been in that locker room when Joe Mazzulla was talking to him after the game as just like a little fly on the wall, just to see him absolutely fucking lay into some people.
Lay into them.
Dude, I love Joe Mazzulla still. I don't care. I'll always say this, but if Jason Tatum wasn't on that team, I'd probably be a Celtics fan. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
I like watching. I still like watching them even with Tatum having no aura. But the no Missoula is one of my favorite coaches to listen to. His quotes before and after games are all time. He's hilarious, and I think I would have loved to have seen him lay into the team too. Because there's, I mean, they're gonna win tonight again. This current game. I know they're only up 5, but they're gonna beat the Magic today, and then hopefully take care of business and just get rid of that. Because as much as I love Paolo and Franz, I cannot watch the Magic play offense anymore. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Paul and Franz are good as fuck, but I loved it when Jason Tatum fell and is on the ground. Joe Mazzulla was telling him to get the fuck up.
Get
I
up.
love that.
He said, "Get
Uh,
up."
you better. Like that's my kind of coach that I want. Like your superstars hurt on the ground and you're telling them to get the fuck up.
I loved it.
That's yeah.
We need more
That's
of
gotta,
that in the
we
league.
do need more of that, especially in the NBA. Fuck.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, but that's the NBA, man.
NBA offs. Yep. We will obviously keep
NBA
touching on that in
off.
the midweek episode too, as
Yeah.
well. Public service announcement, real quick, as we're kind of finishing up here. PSA: I'm on a fucking heater in the NHL. Betting hockey. I am on fire currently. So looking at tomorrow, I want to give a couple free picks to the people. As soon as I start giving picks, they lose. So do the opposite of this, maybe. But tomorrow, Tampa and Florida play, or Tampa and then the Panthers play. I like Tampa tomorrow. I like them to beat Florida at home. I think it's a weird series where they're both in Florida, so the home hasn't really mattered as much. I like them to bounce back and even the series. And I fucking love Colorado on the road tomorrow in Dallas to go up 3-2 in the series. So do with that information what you will, but I have been on fire.
The people's parlay that's gonna come through.
I will post that. It will be the people's parlay. You can do that or the opposite, and you can tell me how it goes.
We should do it. Let's do a thing where you do that and I'll do the opposite and see who hits.
and then we'll see what happens. Okay,
I
hell yeah.
like that. I like that. But everybody, like, subscribe to Instagram, YouTube, X, Spotify. If you're not listening on one of those, you're not a true fan. And submit your takes. You'll get
Yep.
some free shit, dude. And you'll come talk
Submit
to
the
us.
takes for a chance for free shit and to get onto an extremely prestigious podcast.
Yeah, 17 subscribers, man. Let's get to 20.
By the
Let's
time
get to
you get
20.
on, by the time you get on this pod, it could be hundreds. You don't know,
Yes. Or 50.
or 50s. It
Yes.
could be 50s of people.
I'll take both. I'll take either. I'll take either.
Yep. We're happy with anybody that
Yes.
subscribes. So subscribe, like, follow, like Turner said. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back with a midweek episode.
Thank you.